Hey everyone, this is Jeff with Lawson's Creek Apiary, back with another video. Thank you for joining me. I'm sure you can guess what we're going to be talking about today, but we're going to be talking about this. This is the 10 frame Apimaye Hive. I picked this up at the, let me take that back. This was shipped to my house, but I picked it up through the Hive Life conference. Apimaye was doing a discount. Went ahead and bought a double deep setup, as you can see here. And we're going to get into it, take a look at it, let you guys kind of get a close-up and see what's going on with it. I'm not an expert on it by any means. I haven't even had it out in the apiary yet. I've just unboxed it, and we are going to kind of do a deep dive together and see what's inside and see what we can do with this thing. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and start with the front of this thing. Right here, you have a ID tag. It's got a slot right here in the top. You can just push your card in there, whatever you want to make, paper, whatever. You can name the hive, you can put a number on it, just however you want to identify it. And then right down here, you have an upper entrance. So this is fully closed. This is going to be vented. This is going to be fully open, and this is going to be a queen excluder. So worker bees only can get through there. Not even drones are going to make it through that. This right here is going to be the front entrance. You have a cover on each side. More about the reason for that a little bit later. They just slide over. They have these detents right here. You just push that closed, and you can kind of hear it snap into place. Same thing on the other side, snaps into place. And that's not gonna just fall open. You gotta use some pressure to get that open. So you close this, secure your cover, and you can transport your bees just like that. During a dearth, you can just close your entrance down and kind of leave it right there, here, just however you wanna do it. Wide open in the summertime, during a flow. It kind of acts like a bit of a integrated pest management system too here, because these slots are small. Like things like mice are not going to be able to get in there. European hornets, Asian giant hornets may not fit. I'm not sure. Somebody else with a little more knowledge on there could probably tell you, but drones and queens can get out of there for sure. Let's see. Let's get inside of this, or let's turn it over to the side actually. So right here on the side, you have this latching system, and you have handles. So you can use these handles, you can pick it up from either side, just use two hands, lift it, it's nice. And then you have this latch system, it just flips up like that, and then open. And you have one of those on each side. So let's go ahead and open it up and take a look. That and that. All right, let's pop that open. Let me make sure this other camera's in frame. It is. Okay, so right whenever I take off this top cover, which by the way is pretty solid, these things are made of some sort of a plastic material. I don't know what the exact material is, but they are well constructed. It's heavy and it feels strong. I mean, there's no bend, no give to it. It's good. All right, set that to the side. All right, so right here you have the feeders. I like the idea of the feeders. I haven't used it yet. I know Cayman has some Apimaye hives, and the thing he doesn't like about it is having to, take them off just to get to your bees and work your bees. If they're full of syrup, that is going to be a pain, especially if you have a lot of hives. But if you're a backyard beekeeper, a hobby beekeeper, someone like me, that's not going to be too big of a pain to deal with. The upsides to me are a little bit better. Let's go ahead and open it up. All right, so you can put your syrup or your solid food right inside of here. You have these, which are reversible. One's for candy, one's for syrup. So right now it is set up for syrup. So whatever's facing to the outside, this says syrup, that says syrup, that's gonna be the mode that it's in. This side says candy. And if you look here, it's long on one side, short on the other. So when you put it this way, it doesn't go all the way down to the floor, and the bees can come up over this wall here from inside the hive. They climb in and then they can access this area. So if you put dry sugar, fondant, whatever you want to put in there for emergency stores, you can do that. You flip it back over to this. This goes all the way down and leaving only a little gap for syrup to get in, but the bees can't go under. So what the bees will do is they'll climb over this wall and they'll climb in here and they'll feed on the syrup that's right here. And then they can go back in. And if you look, this is rough, so the bees can climb, you know, back up and over without losing a bunch of traction. So I really like that, the versatility there. But Cayman does make a good point, so I'm not saying that he's wrong. That would be a pain if you got a lot of hives. So let's go ahead and get these feeders off of there and see what we've got. All right, so we got Pro frames in here. These are interchangeable. You can use these Pro frames in your wooden hives, and you can use wooden frames in your Apimaye hive. You can even buy the Apimaye hives without frames, or you can buy them with wooden frames, or you can buy them with the Pro frames with or without foundation. It does come with these frame spacers. I don't know if I'll use them or not. I don't use frame spacers in my wooden hives, so I may or may not use them. They just come out. And then you have the Pro frame. I'm not sure how I feel about these lines here and how the bees are going to draw comb around that. I'll just have to see how it goes, I guess. To open it up, you got this little seam here. I just kind of put my finger in between there and just pull it apart. And it comes apart like that. And it's got these tabs on it, so you can line it back up. You put your foundation in there. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Put your foundation in here. I've got some Premier foundation for it. That is the partner of Apimaye now, is Premier foundation. So if you get these with foundation, it will come with Premier. You can just clamp it closed, and your foundation will be in there. Just throw that back. Obviously, this is a 10 frame hive. I think I mentioned that earlier. Let me go ahead and take all these out and get them out of the way. That way we can see what we're working with on the bottom here. All right, so looking at the bottom here from the back, we have trays and things that can pull out. You got this pollen trap, comes right out of the back, right there. So my understanding is when this is in here and the bees come in through this front entrance, they come underneath this pollen trap, and their only way to get into the hive is to go through these holes. And when they go through those holes, it pulls the pollen off of their legs and it falls through, and there's a tray underneath that will catch the pollen. Let me go ahead and pull out the bottom board here. There's the handle. Okay, so let's bring this up. All right, so here we have, this is a plug that you use if you're not going to be using the pollen trap. You just take it out, store it somewhere, and you put this plug into the slot back in the back of the hive where the pollen trap was at, and that keeps bees or anything else from coming in and out of the hive from that back spot. This is going to be your tray that will catch your pollen. So if you take your pollen trap out, you don't need that either, I would assume. And then you have your bottom board here. I don't see a way that you're going to really be able to put any liquid in this. Like, I know some people will put oil down in there to catch mites and beetles and things like that, but it has all these holes in it here. It looks like there's 8 of them in this center part, and then 3 more on the other side of this ridge here. Little holes, but it's not going to hold liquid. So you could put diatomaceous earth in there. I've heard people have problems with that too. I guess things can get in there, ruffle it up, and some of those fibers or whatever can go up into the hive and could harm the bees. I don't know about that. That's just something that I've heard somebody mention either on Facebook or on YouTube. I can't remember. But I know some people do it with success, so that may be an option. Let's see. So at the bottom here, it's basically like a screened bottom board, but it's, you know, made of plastic, and it's got the holes. So if something does fall off, mites or whatever get groomed off, beetles go down, they're going to be underneath there and they'll land on this tray. The other thing is you can take this tray out completely and leave it out, and you have all this bottom ventilation down here if you wanted to. It would be just like I mentioned, like having a screen bottom board. Let me go ahead and put all this back together, and then I will be right back. Okay, I got those trays back in there. I do want to say something here. All of this stuff, I mean, it fits in there snug. It's tight, it snaps in, like nothing just feels loose. It doesn't feel cheap. I really like the way that this feels. It does not feel cheap. You know, that was kind of my first thought was, man, this thing's made of plastic. Everything in here basically is plastic. You know, how cheap is it going to feel? But it does not feel cheap. It feels sturdy. Everything does. Everything snaps together really well. So the quality is really good if that's something that you were worried about. All right, so let's move on to this next part here. It came with what they're calling super boards or division boards. This one here is labeled Ergo Brood Board, and this one is labeled Ergo Super Board. Obviously that one's for the super, and this one is for the brood. So that kind of brings me to another thing that caught me off guard whenever I got this and I opened it up. This is a double deep setup, okay? But these boxes, as far as I can tell, are not reversible. The first clue I had was this. This one comes secured to this bottom board here. And it's a different shape at the front of it than that one is. This bottom lip right here, how it comes over and it goes down and cuts in, is not like that over there. The second clue was the size of these boards. So the brood one is thicker. Let me try to get these side by side for you guys up there. So see the height difference? They're both deep boxes, but the brood one is taller or longer than, not longer, but sorry, taller than the one for the deep super. So that's a little bit strange to me. Why? I mean, sure, they have a good explanation. Maybe it's this intricate bottom board setup, but yeah, the boxes are not reversible. So let's talk about these boards. You got settings here with these. Let me put it on the 3 different options that we have. Okay, so all 3 of these can be fully closed off. They can be open to where there's some interaction back and forth, or they can be open to where it's a queen excluder. The workers can come back and forth, but the queens can't. So the idea behind that is you put this in here, there's these slots, and it slides in. And hold on, the pollen trap cannot be in there for this. Take that out. And there's a groove at the very bottom here where the pollen trap set, it was blocking, that this slides into. So once that slots in, that's not going anywhere. So now what you can do is you can basically have 2 hives going at once, 2 splits, however you want to do it. One other downside is, according to the manual, this is going to knock you down to 4 frames per side, which I don't love. Brian with Castle Hives did a review, or kind of an overview unboxing on the 7-frame Apimaye Nuke, and whenever he puts the board in that, it knocks it down just 1 frame to 6, so from 7 to 6. This one goes from 10 to 8. And looking at it, there's a lot of space here, and you can stick another frame in there, but it's extremely tight. And so there's no space, the B space over here and over here pretty much gone. It's not what it needs to be. So you could do it, but I don't think it's going to work well, and I think that's why they say not to. What I would have liked to have seen them do is move this over 1 spot, just put the grooves over 1 spot, and then we could have done a nice 5-4 setup, something like this. So 4 on one side and then 5 on the other, and then still had proper spacing. That's what I would like to have seen them done. Maybe they can implement that in the future. I may actually email them. Not that they're going to listen to me, but just to throw it out there as feedback, as an idea. They probably have molds for this, and it would be expensive to do. But that's something I would have liked to have seen to get that extra frame in there. So you could have a 5-frame nuke basically over here and a 4-frame over here. But I digress. Let's go back to the way it's supposed to be. So you got your 4 frames. They start to get packed out. You can either move these to another hive, or you can throw on the super, take 2 frames out of it. Throw your other board in there with the same settings. Get that in there. And now you have you're double deep with 2 colonies. The cool thing about that is each colony has its own entrance down here, and each colony has its own feeder. So this colony can access this feeder and that feeder only, and this colony can access this feeder and this feeder only. Now, like I said, depending on those settings, if you set that up to where the workers can pass back and forth, you know, then they can be working both sides. If you just have it completely closed off, you have 2 whole separate colonies, you can do that too. And the workers are not going to pass back and forth through and go kill the opposing queens. You can successfully run 2 colonies in here with the workers going back and forth. That's not going to be an issue, just so long as the queens can't get to each other, and they can't with those division boards. Let's go ahead and throw this top cover on there. Latch it in. Latch it in, and we don't want to forget to latch our boxes together. And so doing that kind of brings me to another thing. Let me turn this sideways so this camera up here can see it. But depending on whether or not you're using the feeders changes, or a queen excluder, it does come with a queen excluder, I'll grab that in a second, will change what setting you're going to use on this latch. So because I have the feeders in there, I have to use this latch right here, or that groove. If I didn't have the feeders in there, then I would use this top groove right here. Same thing down here. If I do the queen excluder, I go down here. Since I don't have the queen excluder on, I'm right here. So that's just something to note with the latch system. I'm going to go ahead and show you these handles. I'm going to pick it up, and I can handle the whole hive just with those handles. And they're very strong. Let me grab that queen excluder real quick. So here is the queen excluder. It's plastic like everything else. I used a plastic queen excluder this year and I did not have any luck with it. Switched to a metal queen excluder and it worked really well. The only thing I could think of is the plastic queen excluder that I was using was pretty thin and it has sharp edges. This one doesn't. It's kind of smooth. It's not as smooth as the metal ones because they're those round rods. But I have hopes that this will work better than the plastic one that I used, but we'll see. That's basically the end of this, guys. It's looking good so far. I can't wait to put it out in the yard and get some bees in it. I will do follow-ups as the year goes on and let you know what I think about it, how it's holding up, and things like that. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'll answer them. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for stopping by.